Before we get started, here's some before pictures. This is Peggy from Peggy's Tropical Garden. Thanks for joining me today. The first part of the garden renovation has been completed, and that was digging up the plants. We've moved this palm tree over here. As you can see, we have lots of plants that have been taken out of their pots so that we can group the pots by colors. Here's a lot of the coral rock that we had throughout the rock garden. There's more of my plants that have been pulled up and put in pots temporarily. And let's see, we've got a low border wall going here. All the plants except for the main plants that we will be reusing are still in the ground. As you see, all of this is pretty naked compared to what it usually looks like. I'll give you a good view of that. And this is where the cactus and succulent plants are going to be going. Okay, over in this bed over here, the agave is probably going to be moved because it is encroaching on the boardwalk, the walkway to the house. So that's no good, given as it has very sharp spines on it. Back here in the garden, as you can see, again, the pots have been removed. Most of the plants have been removed. The palms, the areca palms that were back here along this back wall are gone. And these are the only plants we're keeping. There are my Dracaena plants. You've probably not seen them that tall. Most people just see them as house plants. And here they just have at it. There's my croton. We will be using them. We will be moving this one over here. Now along this wall, we're going to have some native trees and native plants, as well as some bromeliads and things like that. And we're going to use some of the larger boulders over here. Not sure what we're going to do with the fountain yet, if we're going to leave it right here or if we're going to relocate it somewhere else in the garden. Let's see. We're thinking this agave is going to stay here. And there's a low rock wall here on this side, and on this side those are going to be an entrance because we do want to welcome people into the garden. So, and then we have the sticks on fire over here, and we have another one on this side of the wall. And let's see what else we have going here. Let's look at everything that had to be removed. Okay, so we're about ready to start putting things down. Here's a fountain that was pulled up. Here's some rocks that are going down. We've moved the tall blue pots over here. There's some more of my plants that have been taken out of their pots and they're waiting to be planted either in the ground or in pots again. This part of the garden, only things remaining are the things that we are going to be using here again. And there are some pots. We're going to use the pots in groupings by color. So we have staged them by colors, kind of sorting them. There are some pavers that were pulled up, or retaining walls. And here's some more coral rocks. These are native rocks here. You dig them, well, native, you dig a couple of inches, you're gonna hit coral here, because all of this was once underwater. So we have lots of coral. There's my beehives there. So hopefully this week some plants will start going in. Here is my staghorn that I'm sick about. This staghorn we tried to rescue from a friend's house, and it's huge, but it has not done well here because there was a tree house in this tree right above it, and it blocked it, so it wasn't getting enough light or water. Couldn't get the rainwater because the tree house was blocking it. So the tree house has come down. The staghorn is getting some light and rainwater, which was much needed. And yeah, parts of it are not going to make it, but some of it is showing some signs of life, and I feel good about that, like on this side especially, if you look. So hopefully all will be well there. Okay, it's the next day. We have our native plant delivery. We have some Simpson stoppers, Spanish stoppers, Jamaica capers, Pilia ground cover, all kinds of good stuff being delivered today, and they'll start putting it in the ground. Here they're moving some boulders with the tractor so that they can place the trees. The coral boulders have been moved, the trees have been temporarily placed, and this agave has to go. It's not going to work for what we have planned. I have to admit I'm freaking out a little bit with this man moving this agave. It has very sharp spines, and I've been stuck by it more than once. I don't know how he's doing this. I live on an island of coral rock, so you can't just pull out a shovel and dig a hole to plant a tree. You have to bring out the heavy machinery. Here's a look at the native plants we'll be using in the landscaping. The only other plants we'll be using are the ones from my pre-existing garden. Ladies and gentlemen, we have trees in the ground. All progress has come to a halt. Only 2 hours after being here, the landscapers have left. The tractor broke down. It couldn't handle the digging into the coral rocks, so they're going to have to get that repaired. Anyway, this is what we are looking at after today's progress. We have the trees temporarily placed where we're thinking they're going to go. Keep in mind that some of this stuff still may be pulled up. Down here we actually do have some trees in the ground. Some are not in the ground, but at least holes are dug for them, so they'll continue on that. So we have a few down and a whole lot to go, but this is what we are looking at now. As I mentioned before, this landscape designer uses native plants, and the advantage of using natives is they're less susceptible to disease, and they're already acclimated to the climate, to the soil, to, the amount of salt in the air since we're on the island. All those things, less to worry about. They don't require as much water. So all good stuff. These are the plants that were pulled from my garden. The tropicals here that you see in succulents are plants that were previously pulled from my garden. If you didn't see the first video on this makeover, I had to remove all the pots from the garden, remove the plants from the pots, remove the plants from the garden. The landscapers moved most of the stuff from the garden except my special ones. I did those myself. And here's just a quick look at what's been done so far on the side garden. Just basically the large coral rocks removed, as well as the plants in pots. Couple days later, and we're back in action with the heavy machinery. The trees are in place, and now it's time to move the fountain. This was kind of like a last-minute decision, so I don't know how I feel about it, but we'll see after it's moved. Hopefully, as heavy as this thing is, it'll be where it's gonna stay. the fountains in place, and now it's time to plant the border plants. At the end of the day, this is what we have. What a difference a day makes. It's beautiful. I'm liking it. We still have quite a bit to do, but we're getting there. Every day, we're a little bit closer. Today we moved the agave that's over 5 feet tall, and it's got some serious spines on the end, and it's not a nice plant to have to handle. Thankfully, the professionals are here and they do a fine job of it. Agave are succulents and they store a lot of water. They're very heavy plants. The loud noise you hear in the background is a locust or a cicada. Sorry for the loud noise, but hey, we're outside. You gotta do nature. Well, that's it for part 2 of the garden makeover. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for stopping by.